Now, I was considering doing an unpopular opinion video on the movie Blade Trinity, but after rewatching it, and I've watched it so many times before, and just recently today I rewatched it again just for this video, I realized I can't really do an unpopular opinion. The only thing I can say is I don't think it deserves the 25% rating it gets on Rotten Tomatoes. However, I do feel it does deserve the rotten rating that it gets. Or just the fact that it gets a rotten rating in general. This movie has a lot of flaws. From the performances from a lot of actors, from the plot itself, it's just kind of silly. From the campiness, the silly, the goofiness that it goes with. Now, I have some issues with that last point, good and bad. Now, on the negative side, it does stray away from the Blade that we've come to know and love, or at least I have, from Blade 1 and 2. Blade 1 and 2 were very much set in the horror action. There was, these vampires were badasses. We had, it was just good action movies for such a badass Marvel character. But it strayed far from that in the third movie, and you get a lot of that just within the beginning pieces. It's more flashy and more comedic. You add the talent of Ryan Reynolds, who is still great and puts on a fine performance in this movie. However, it does not match up. You watch these three movies back to back to back, you're going to get an entirely different experience with that third act. Now, the movie itself has a lot of issues with the performances and from mostly the backing characters. You get your main three with Wesley Snipes, Ryan Reynolds, Jessica Biel. Of course, they do fine. They're great. I mean, Wesley's Wesley. Ryan Reynolds is it's Ryan Reynolds. Jessica Biel, actually, I haven't really seen her before this put on more of like the badass role. She did fine. She was kind of believable as the ass kicking female character in this movie. But outside of that, you just get very poor, very lazy, very uninspired performances. Parker Posey is a very special actress to me. I really love her work. But her performance in this movie was very underwhelming. Of course, you get Triple H, Paul Levesque, whatever you want to call him. I think he's billed on IMDb as Paul Levesque. But he's Triple H. And that's the thing. It's Triple H. He's not, he's not an actor. He's a performer in WWE. But it took away the badass of Triple H. And it just made him, the big goofy guy, the big dumb idiot, guy. I mean, just with that scene alone where he's chasing down the car and he's just running full head of steam. It's just silly and goofy, and it does not work. It does not fit what Blade is supposed to be. Having said that, going back to the point of it being silly and being more of a comedy, the problem I have with that argument is people tend to love Marvel for their lighthearted humor, for their silliness. They're not afraid to throw in some jokes and have a little fun with their action. Whereas people really tend to put down the DC movies for being just so dark and so depressing. This movie came out at a time before that switch really happened. This movie came out at a time where the Marvel movies were kind of dark, and we got the silly, Joel Schumacher Batman movies. I mean, it didn't come out at that same time, but we were still in the transitionary period of DC getting darker and Marvel getting more lighthearted. Now, the problem I have with this is people tend to just put down Blade Trinity because it's silly, because it's having fun with itself and making jokes. But at the same time, they praise later on, later Marvel movies for the same thing, because they're fun, because they make jokes, because you can watch that movie and have a fun time. And see, that's the problem I have. Especially since this is, I think, the first one that actually had the Marvel logo start up, or introduce the movie. So it was more set in the Marvel world, the world of this Marvel Comics has built with their movies. And I'm not talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which wasn't really a thing yet, but it did, it was one of the starting points of the Marvel Universe, of the Marvel comic book movie juggernaut that it is now. And it really set the tone for what's to come. The silliness, the campiness. Yeah, we have a serious situation here, but we'll throw in some jokes. We'll have Ryan Reynolds make a few laughs. So that argument alone kind of bothers me, but there is tons more problems with this movie, including, like I said, the acting, the plot itself was just, to me, just so boring. The idea of bringing Dracula back just to have him be very underwhelming of a villain. He comes back. His first introduction is in the beginning of the movie in the desert. I think they said in Iraq, and he comes out as this monster, and then he transforms and shapeshifts into his human form. I guess his human-looking form, which is played by let me see. I forget the name. I forget the name. But we've seen this actor in many things. Flash, Arrow, and Legends of Tomorrow. He's in that DC television universe now. Berlantiverse, as a lot of people call it. We've seen him put on great performance, and in here he's just so boring, so just very underwhelming. I think that's the perfect word to describe it. Very underwhelming. Because he is Dracula, because he's this monster, because he's the first of their kind, because they talk about him as this guy who just tore through time and just destroyed people and laid a path of bodies throughout the years. And, now you see him and he's just kind of walking the streets, no big deal, goes to a shop, kills 2 people, walks the streets some more. I mean, he doesn't really seem like a big badass villain. The first time he meets up with Blade, it's a chase scene. It's not a fight. It's, he takes off running and Blade has to chase him. So this is just it's underwhelming, especially considering we had villains in the past. Go back to the first Blade movie, you get these encounters where Blade's actually in trouble. Blade's going to get his ass kicked. A lot of issues, even in the second movie, you have that scene where Blade's getting his ass kicked. Blade gets beat, and it's up to Whistler to save him, and he has to fall into the pool of blood, and then he has that big comeback badass moment. This was just Blade kicks ass, Blade kicks ass, Blade kicks ass, Blade scares Dracula, kicks some more ass, and then goes in for the final fight. So again, like I said, the main plot is it's not fully fleshed out. The main villain's very underwhelming. Acting's not there. Story's not there. There's so much that's a negative with this movie. Is it fun? Sure, you can have a good time sitting back watching the movie. I know I did, even though I've seen it many times. Even I know everything that's going to happen. I know the lines almost. I could recite the movie for you. I've seen it so much. But there's still very, very prominent issues within this movie. Very prominent issues that will make this movie almost unwatchable for some people, some very critical people. But if you're going into this movie just to sit back, have a good time, enjoy some action, and just kind of see the flashy colors in your face, you'll enjoy it. But even then, you're going to have a hard time kind of buying into how this movie is just kind of shoehorned in. The plot is really shoehorned in. I mean, I don't want to go into too many spoilers for people who haven't seen it, but I mean, it's Blade Trinity. I mean, spoilers, they're going to happen, and it's been out for a while. I'm sorry. But, even in the beginning of the movie, you're getting the sense of, the FBI know Blade's, Blade's out there. They even have sketches of him. They know who he is. They know what he's doing. And it's not even just he's out there killing people. They know he's out there killing vampires. So they know even a little bit of backstory of what he's doing and what he's trying to do, and it doesn't really get fully explained why. Why do they know this? I mean, it is explained, yes, these people that are talking and giving this information work for the vampire, so of course they have that information. Um, but there are people outside of that it just doesn't make sense. How do they know that? And at the same time, for a person that they kind of establish Whistler as this guy who goes out there, gets supplies, food, and gets the local newspaper and tries to keep up with the topics and what's going on. How did he not know that the FBI know about him? How did they not know that this is one of the America's most wanted people? And he's all over the news. There's news stories about him, and it kind of just confuses me. And that doesn't really get explained. I mean, at the end of the second movie, he does what he has to do, and he goes back. He's done whatever. He's killed vampires. He's killed the Reapers. Okay, whatever. Now all of a sudden, he's hunted by the police. They want to find him for killing people, and Blade even recites that how many actual humans he's killed, and it's over 1,000. That's just another thing that's just, like, it's weird to me, because we've seen him interact with the humans before. With in the first movie, there was that cop. He just beat the shit out of him, left him. Wasn't really like I'm gonna go out and kill this person. So it just kind of seems weird to me that this whole thing's even happening. It's hard to describe. It's just weird to me that they use this as a plot point to move along the movie. As Chris Christopherson's character of Whistler dies off, Blade's on his own. Then he meets the new people, which is the what were the Night Stalkers. It's just weird to me. How all this happened, it just kind of seemed really shoehorned in. Just like they just wanted to put in all these actors and get the gravitas of having all these big named actors, but not really substance. It's all the meat and veggies, but it tastes like it's very bland. And that's, I think, the biggest problem. And I've compared this before to something like Boondock Saints, which I've done an unpopular opinion on, and I've had a lot of complaints about that too, where there's no plot, the acting isn't there. Some of the characters, they're not interesting. But the reason why that's more forgivable is because of the budget they had, because it's a lower budget movie, because the actors, the caliber of actors they had wasn't that high. Whereas here they tried to stack it with as many known faces and names as they could. And it's one of those things where you can put as many great actors as you want into a movie. That doesn't make the movie good. Because sometimes, like I said, the plot's not there, the story's not there. So, what I'm trying to say is this movie it's an okay movie. You're going to have a good time if you're not really thinking about it, if it's just background noise, if it's just something to just stare at for a minute. You'll enjoy that. But if you're looking for a good Marvel Comics character movie, if you're looking for a good comic book movie, or if you're looking for a good vampire and, vampire hunter movie, this is not where it's going to be at. I go back and watch, The Lost Boys, or go back and watch Buffy. Don't watch this. Watch Blade 1 and 2. I feel like those two movies were perfect. They did not need to go this route. It really disappoints me, because Blade 2 is one of my favorite movies. Just because it is such a badass character. Blade is such a badass character, and it is a really fun and exciting movie, and it's good to see this action. Another good thing I could say about Blade Trinity is, like with the other movies, the choreography is great, costume design, excellent. Each character has their own look and feel to them. They have their own individual character. It's not just a bunch of people in leather and black leather like in Blade 2, where everyone kind of had the same look. Especially at the end, everyone kind of looked the same in costume design. This one had more individuality with the characters and their costumes, so you feel like they're more of you know, it kind of fits the whole idea of this team being a ragtag group of people who are just come together to fight vampires. They bring their own style in. Yes, they get their weapons, but they pick and choose the weapons they want. They get to wear what they feel more comfortable in. It's not really a tactical team, whereas Blade is more tactical. He's a soldier, where these people are just vampire hunters. I feel like that's a really smart idea to go with in this movie, but again, like I said, there's so many problems that it kind of puts all that aside. Of course, the fight scenes are great. There's plenty of that. You're gonna enjoy those fight scenes. Again, the choreography is fine. It's Blade. They have not really messed that up, but they have messed up the story. They messed up the ending. I mean, there's two separate endings, and both of them never really give you a full idea of what's happening. Of course, there's again, spoilers. Of course, there's the one ending where, the cops find Blade's body, and it turns out to be Dracula. He just shapeshifted, and that's, there's a line right before that where Dracula says, "I'm gonna leave you with a gift." So it makes sense. Like, okay, he feels Blade fought with honor, so because Blade won and beat him fighting with honor, I'll leave you with a gift. As I die, I'll do something to help you. And he does it, and, that's great. There's a second ending where they find Blade, but Dracula's gone. Dracula's not there anymore. His body's just gone. They find Blade, they bring him in, they're about to do an autopsy on his body, and he wakes up, and he starts beating the hell out of all the doctors and the cops, and starts to feed. Both endings also end with the same thing, where he's on his motorcycle riding off, and there's a sense of maybe another movie's going to come, but it never does. There were talks of a sequel or a spin-off, the Night Stalker spin-off, where it's going to be Jessica Biel, Ryan Reynolds hunting vampires and also werewolves, and that seemed like that would have been an okay idea, but again, if they're going in this direction, it's just going to ruin it more and more. So happy that actually got canceled. I mean, it would have been interesting to see if they would have just completely rebooted the whole thing and did their own separate thing. I think that would have been fine. Night Stalkers do their own thing, Blade do his own thing, and that being a shared vampire universe. That would have been cool. But, things happen. The Blade Trinity got such bad reviews. I feel like that was a big reason why they didn't go that route. Maybe budget, I don't know. But I'm glad they didn't. I'm not the type of person to say Blade Trinity ruined Blade for me, because I still have Blade and I still have Blade 2. I just, don't really care for the third one. So this is why I'm not really going to do an unpopular opinion. This is more of just a review and me saying, yes, I love Blade 2, but here's also what I feel about the third one, Blade Trinity. Not sure I'm going to do one on the first Blade, but, we'll see what happens. I'm actually not entirely sure what the original Blade is rated as, but I'll look into that, and I'll see what I do from there. I am also going to do an unpopular opinion on Man of Steel. That's going to be my next one. I'm still working on these video game reviews. It's getting really hard. I was thinking about doing a video on the Nintendo Switch. My last one. I know I said I'm not going to do one for a while. But now that it's out, now that, we've seen some positive, we've seen some negative, it'd be a time to do like a, these are my final thoughts kind of video. I thought about doing that. I'm not entirely sure I am. There's a lot of people out there who have a lot of reviews out there. I say go check out Boogie2988. He has a great review. Angry Joe has an amazing review as well. So check out these people. Pro Jared, great reviews on the Nintendo Switch. And these are guys you can really trust. They're going to give you the positive. They're going to give you the negative. They're not going to harp too much on what's great about this and ignore what's wrong. They're also not going to just trash the Nintendo Switch for no reason. I don't know. Did I say we earlier? I don't know. I'm tired. It's like 3 in the morning. But that's it, you guys. Thank you so much. I'm going to try to shorten these up a little bit. I'm seeing here it's like 20 minutes. I'm going to try to shorten up these videos a little bit. Try not to do too much. I'm also going to try not to do them so late because I'm tired as hell. I'm just rambling on. I know it. I'm sorry. Whatever. But that is my review of Blade Trinity. If you haven't seen it, I do recommend going to see it. But keep in mind, it's not the best. And it's if you're looking for plot and story, something that's, I'm going to go ahead and say it. It's a Marvel movie. Don't expect a great plot. All right? But that's my time, you guys. And I will see you later.